Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there. Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.
My name is Richard Furr, and I can say I am cloud hired.
That yes, come and join and get cloud hired. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
Hey, Go Cloud Architect family. I'm cloud hired.
Well, I'm cloud hired, guys.
So I'll just say I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired thanks to Go Cloud Architects.
It worked for me, and now I'm cloud hired.
Because of Google Architect program, I am cloud hired. See!
I am cloud hired. Thank you, Mike and the GlowCloud team.
Right, everybody, welcome to another Cloud Career Q&A session from us here at Go Cloud Careers. My name is Chris Johnson. I am the Chief Operating Officer here. and I'm joined by Alonzo Coleman, our Chief Marketing Officer. So we are here to take any of your cloud career related questions. Now, as you can see, it's me and Alonzo today. Mike is not able to join us right now because he's taking care of some family matters. And so Alonzo and I will be here to answer any of your questions. So I'm going to ask if you can keep it a little less technical for me. All the technical things I'm going to throw over to Alonzo. But just in general, just to be completely fair, neither one of us are nearly as amazing on the tech aspects as Mike is. But we are here to talk about your career questions, your development questions, your training questions. So please feel free to share any of those types of questions with us in the chat box, and we'll definitely answer them. So, here at Go Cloud Careers, we're really here to help you reach your dreams and help you reach your dream career. And whether you do that with us or on your own, we just want to help you get there as quickly as possible. So while we wait for some questions to come in, and also I want to apologize to everybody about your eardrums. We got to work out the audio on that transition in the intro video there. But while we're waiting on people to join in and ask their questions, I do want to tell everybody about a few things. So first of all, I want to remind everybody that we have our discount countdown going on. And for the remainder of this week, you can get 30% off on our award-winning Cloud Architect Career Development Program. And that is regularly priced at $24.99. You can get for 30% off right now. So basically, for just a few days pay for the average cloud architect, you can get access to our award-winning Cloud Architect Career Development Program. This includes everything from 500 to 700 hours worth of on-demand content, all of our back catalog of all of our live classes, get you our AWS training, our Azure training, our tech training, our soft skills training, our communication training, all of that good stuff. Get you access to our Slack community so that you can work with your fellow students. Get you access to our projects, our labs, and most importantly, it gets you access to the 3 live classes a week for an entire year. So roughly 150 live classes for an entire year for just a few days pay for the average cloud architect. Right now, with the 30% discount, it is less than $2,000. So just to give you some perspective, the average one semester class for the average college or university in the United States is roughly $2,000 to $3,000 at just a regional local college. So for less than one class at a 4-year university, you can get access to 150 class sessions for an entire year. So don't miss out on that discount that is available for you. And so the next thing I want to remind everybody about is our How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. So we're actually going to be doing one tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. And what we'll be doing there is telling you everything you need to know to become the ultimate cloud architect. So make sure to register for that. It's free. We'll be there. We got a 30-minute presentation, and then we'll take questions and answers from you about your career and about our training. Again, whether you train with us or on your own, we want to answer your questions. So that's just another opportunity for you to ask questions. So let's see here. Let's see. Do I have anything else before I let Alonzo say a few words? Oh, I also want to remind everybody that coming up next month, we have our AWS Bootcamp. And you can register for that. Let me make sure I've got the registration link for that. Give me just a second. I don't think I've got the registration link. Bear with me. Apparently, I misplaced that one. So I know the link is in the description, but I can't find it to put it in the chat box. So Tyrone, if you could take that link that's in the description of this video and put it in the chat box for me. There we go. There it is. All right. So, Alonzo, any words, anything that you want to share with us? A lot of people being quiet in the chat box over there. So,
Yeah, well, let's keep in mind. First of all, my name is Alonzo Coleman. Of course, Chris introduced me. I am also focused on your brand and focusing on the branding of the organization as the chief marketing officer. And I am here to also help you with your questions along the lines as you start to understand the tech of becoming a cloud architect and you get to the point of proficiency and we're ready to get you ready get you ready to get in front of the hiring managers. My responsibility is ensuring that your brand is eloquent, it's exceptional, it pops out above all others so that you as the prospective cloud architect will get that job. We focus on your resume, we focus on your LinkedIn presence, and we help across the board to just make sure that you are ready to go. So with Chris and I, we are here to answer all your questions. Please step up, share your thoughts, share your questions, because we want you to get cloud hired. We want you to start your best career ever, and it starts with these questions today. So we are ready and waiting to get those done for you. And don't be shy because we're here for you. Okay, up and up. I'll ask, or rather read this off. What should be included in the tell me about yourself question to make an impressive start of an interview? Well, for me, I think that what it'll be is we'll talk about anything that you can tell about yourself is how you need to fashion how it's going to be helpful for the organization. Start building up on what your skill set is, what your experience is, how you're able to leverage these skills for the organization, and talk about and actually reverse that question by saying, well, how can I use what I have as a resource for this organization, and ask the hiring manager what their goals are for not only for himself, but also for the department. And you'll be able to leverage this question as a benefit to how you can add value for the organization. What about you, Chris?
yeah, I think that's the best answer to give on that one. The tell me about yourself. They really don't want to know about you. They want to know about how you can help them.
Yeah.
So it's not an opportunity for you to talk about yourself and what you did the past year and what you like, what hobbies you like, and all of this stuff, unless they specifically ask, what are some of your hobbies? What do you like to do in your spare time? Obviously, then you talk about those things. But if it's a vague, open-ended, tell me about yourself question, you definitely talk about what you can bring to the organization to benefit them. But you wrap it up in talking about you. The wrapping paper is you, and the underneath is what you can do. The stuff inside the wrapping paper is what you can do for the organization. So depending on the organization, it will determine your answer. So I think that's probably the best way to answer that question. All right, so we're going to go with so we got Tom Sawyer says, what if I don't have any experience in cloud computing? I see a lot of these job descriptions list experience as a requirement. And then a little bit later, we had a question from SV. I never worked in tech before. How does Go Cloud help me with applying for jobs that require 5 years of tech experience? All right, so I'm going to start this one off because I am the guy with the HR background. I worked in HR, did human resources. I've done hiring. I've interviewed thousands of people. So listen to me when I say that the job descriptions are worthless. The job descriptions are not a roadmap to getting you hired. The job descriptions are not indicative of what the actual role is. Unless it was actually written from scratch, specifically for that posting that was posted 5 minutes ago, that was probably posted by a company that's got 200,000 employees and probably has a couple of hundred people just in human resources, and then has thousands of people that are hiring managers. So that's probably not going to be a useful job description. I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you from the words of two hiring executives that I've spoken with in the past 2 months. One is a vice president of talent at a cloud computing company. And when asked, he actually came to our class and spoke with our students about their company and what they look for and what they saw in some of our participants that caused them to hire our students, and basically saying, hey, we want more of you guys. When asked by one of our students why this job description said these things, the exact words were, that's probably a bad copy and paste job, quote, unquote. So the vice president of talent at this company openly acknowledged that it was probably a bad copy and paste job on a job description. That is something that is usually said day in and day out among ourselves, among HR people, but we usually don't say it too often outside unless we're just being completely candid, which in this case they were. The other hiring executive told me point blank, and I didn't even prompt this. This just came up in casual conversation, so I wasn't even trying to figure out what their job descriptions were like. They were just talking about what was going on right now at their employment. And they made the comment that right now I've got a contradictory job description out there, so I'm getting worthless candidates. Well, you're getting worthless candidates because you have a contradictory job description. Your job description contradicts itself inside the job description. So these job descriptions that are out there are not reflective of the work. It's not reflective of what the hiring managers actually want. So, Tom Sawyer, you asked, I see a lot of these job descriptions list experience as a requirement. Okay, great. Good for the job description. Hiring manager doesn't give a darn rat's behind about your experience.
That is a Cooper Johnson response.
I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to say that, so I just come out with my Mississippi terms, my PG Mississippi terms there. They don't care. If you can do the job, they don't care about your experience. If you can prove your competency, they don't care about your experience. Do you want someone that's worked in a position for 15 years that doesn't know what the heck they're doing and has only gotten through because they're not the bottom 10%, they're just the bottom 12%. So they keep making it through every time because they're not quite the bottom, but they're right above the bottom.
Right,
and they just stuck around for 15 years because they were able to make it by, and they're costing the company thousands of dollars every day that they're there, most likely.
Yeah, and I've heard in the consulting field that there are many people who just got promotions because they hung around long enough.
Yep.
So are they competent, or it's just because they were able to stay around and just hold the walls up without any value? So don't focus on that, Tom Sawyer. Focus on your competency, in which what we can do is provide that competency of understanding what the tech is, what it does, when you would use it, and being able to tell that story through a business transformative perspective on how you can add value to the company. So it's not about I have 600 years of wrong skill set like in Kubernetes and everything else, but I cannot showcase or leverage those skills in a job that has nothing to do with that. So focus on your competency and being able to understand what a cloud architect does and build upon that for success.
Yep. And just to piggyback on what Alonzo was just saying, he was answering SV's question here about how will Go Cloud help you with applying for those jobs. The whole purpose of our program is to help you gain the competency, and within that, the experience that we offer in designing solutions and dealing with real world scenarios within our program. We put you through the ringer in the program.
Yeah.
we this is not just a click here, and make sure you shut off your instance so that your bill doesn't get run up. That's not what this is.
No, we don't hello world here.
Yes. So we are actually requiring you to gather information. We're actually requiring you to take that information, work with a group of people, and design a solution. And then we're actually requiring you to present that solution back to the person that you had to gather that information from. That's just one aspect of it. The other aspect is we actually teach you the fundamentals of the cloud. We don't teach you AWS. We actually teach you networking and data center, not AWS.
No.
I don't even know what the AWS terms for these things are, because I just all I know is if I can tell when somebody is talking in AWS or Azure to me, and I'm just kind of like looking out in the left field, like, okay, when's this going to end?
Yeah.
So we give you that ability to be competent in your job, and then we just instruct every single person in our program just to bypass applying through HR. You're not going to get a job through HR. You're not, especially if you don't have the experience. If you don't have the experience, the applicant tracking system is going to spit you out right immediately, because the artificial intelligence is looking for the things that you do not have and that the job doesn't actually require. So if the artificial intelligence is looking for things that are irrelevant to the job, they're not going to see what you have to bring to the table.
Right.
And we guide and nurture people through that process. So.
And think about it this way, because they have these bots or this criteria, as Chris mentioned, look at it this way. If the set criteria, which is wrong, and they're scanning for this criteria on your resume for a wrong job, of course you're not going to get it, because you have the right necessary competency for the wrong details that they've added to search for these specific candidates. So think about it that way. You have to focus less on what is being mentioned. If you know, based on CIO's article, about what a cloud architect is and what companies are looking for, that does not correlate and relate to anything that they're laying out in the for that particular job. So keep that in mind and just focus on your competency, because I'd rather have a 1-year rock star surgeon who's only been in the business but focused in competency for only a couple of years versus a 5 or 10-year surgeon who's doing it all wrong. So think about it that way.
And to piggyback on that a little bit more, talking about the application process, if you're going through an ATS system, and the ATS system is looking for a piece of criteria that can't possibly exist, what is going to happen to the applications? Let's look at in 2020, I saw a job description, and I saw people complaining about applying to this job that in 2020 required 10 years of Kubernetes experience. Kubernetes came out in 2014. So in 2020, now if they had said containerization, maybe a different story, but it specifically said Kubernetes. And I'm looking here. According to GitHub, the initial release of Kubernetes was September 9th, 2014. So if an applicant tracking system is trying to match up somebody with 10 years of Kubernetes experience, even today, the only possible applications that could get through are falsified applications. So if you got a true application, you're not getting through. So that's the downfall of applying directly for jobs through applicant tracking systems. And everybody uses applicant tracking systems today. So just a couple of suggestions there. So let's move on to this next one from Gonzo Gamer. It's a two-parter, so give me just a second here. It says, I understand not getting certifications you don't need, such as getting all 3 AWS associates. But I feel their exam objectives could be good to study as a beginner with no experience. Should a person study for all 3? Why not get all 3 while you're at it? Even if it's just to secure interviews and you don't plan to recertify in all of them. So I'd like to start off with this one, then I'll let Alonzo close it, because Alonzo's taking the certification exams to help us. And I have not. So let me start off with a simple business case for you. So if you're talking about let's say, I'm assuming since you said that you understand not getting all three associates, and then you go on to talk about get all three. I'm guessing you mean all three as the practitioner, the associate, and the professional. I'm guessing because you started off saying you understood not getting all three associates. So I'm going to approach this from the perspective of why not get the practitioner, the associate, and the professional architect. So let's, and you can correct me, Gonzo Gamer, in the chat box if I'm approaching this wrong. But from an outside perspective, it sounds like they all build on top of each other. So from an outside perspective, the amount of time that it would take to prepare, to study, familiarize, and prepare yourself for practitioner, and then study and familiarize and prepare yourself for associate, and then study and prepare and familiarize yourself and take the professional. From an outside perspective, business case wise, it seems like it would be a lot of lost opportunity cost. You're taking 3 times as long to prepare for ultimately the knowledge that you would have attained from one certification. So in my experience with Mike, I've seen Mike suggest bypassing the practitioner, and if you desire, get the associate and the professional, but it only lists the professional on your thing. Now, if you happen to be in an area of the world where you can get free access to the practitioner, then he suggests doing the practitioner and then skipping the associate to do that professional. And from my hearing Mike talk about that, it's kind of along what you're talking about. Kind of that gives you that, here's an introduction to it, and then here's the closing of it. Don't really see any value in doing all 3, practitioner, associate, professional. Oh, you mean the 3 associates? Oh, so you mean the DevOps associate and the architect associate and the security associate and all these other associates? The reason not to do those is because, again, lost opportunity costs. And if you're trying to get a job, you're not going to list all of them on your resume.
No.
Security, AWS security is not true security. So that's a wasted opportunity. Now, if you're working somewhere and they want you to get it, that's a completely different story. That's a good reason to get it because you're working there and they want you to get it. But AWS security is not security. No. You'll want to learn security from security professionals.
Yes.
Same with networking. AWS networking is not networking. It's AWS networking. You will want to learn networking from networking companies like Cisco. So if your goal is to become an architect, then we do not suggest getting anything other than the architect associate. Not the DevOps, not the security or the networking. If you're interested in security and networking, then we suggest going to what is it? ISC? Is that the company that does the CISSP and the CSSP? Yeah, it's ISC.
Yeah.
And then Cisco for networking, because that's real networking. Alonzo, I'll let you pick up on this. But at the end of the day, it's all about return on investment, missed opportunity cost, how long it's going to take you to learn these things, and what the return of it's going to be. But I'll let Alonzo chime in here.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. As someone who's gone through the gambit of 3 associates. Okay, so say for instance, you get an associates in AWS, you get an associates in Azure, you get an associates in Google Cloud Platform. You understand that it's not cloud architecture. It's you focusing on their services. Okay, it's you focusing on their environment. As the industry and as folks or as companies start to get wise, they understand that they can't focus on one cloud service provider, and here's why: because they may up the rates on them. They may not like their vision, their culture, And it has been shown that if they don't like something another company says, they pull the total infrastructure out from under them. It also pigeonholes them into one cloud service provider, given the fact that no one, say for instance, if you have a place where you're going into, you do not want a one way in, one way out. Because if that one way is barred, say for instance, you have a fire, there's nowhere to go. That is called a single point of failure. I guess I need to focus more on the cloud first. Okay, well, what we're trying to say is that focus on the competence, focus on the agnostic cloud, okay, not a cloud service provider's resources that they offer to companies. You need to understand networking really well. You don't need to understand, like, say, for instance, let's look at the security environment. You have AWS WAF, okay? You have we have their advanced version of that. It's not good enough because if you're thinking about DDoS, distributed denial of service attacks, you think about SQL injection attacks, you think about port scanning, you think about any number of these attacks that a lot of these bad actors are performing on a regular basis. And in earnest, that's not good. You're going to need really good security. You're going to need security from Palo Alto, Fortinet, Checkpoint. These are folks who focus on next generation security that incorporates IDS and IPS, which is intrusion detection systems and intrusion prevention systems. You're going to need to fortify that with different layers of security, and not only using just one security provider. You're going to have to fortify it with a different one so that you're going to get those multiple layers of security. And you can't rely on just one cloud service provider because that's just not enough. Even they themselves, they don't rely fully on their own services. So if you look and you do your research on AWS, a lot of what they do for their own environment is not predicated 100% on their own services. So let's look back on your certification journey. Someone who has done, I have multiple SIOPS is my current goal. I'll be transitioning from some IT experience with A+ certification. Okay, let's start here. SIOPS, given SIOPS, that focuses on a lot of things that cloud architects don't do, okay? And they don't get paid as much as cloud architects. Cloud architects design, present, and sell. So if you're focusing on SysOps and maintaining that environment, a lot of technologies like ChatGPT will be, and as it's starting right now, will start to systematically eliminate human intervention within those positions. Okay, so when it comes to the difference between SIOPS and cloud architecture, cloud architects, they design, present, and sell, as opposed to SIOPS, they're maintaining what has already been created. But I want Chris to really jump in and add to this discussion as well.
Yeah, so I just wanted to chime in. Unfortunately, we don't have much familiarity with SysOps or DevOps.
Right.
So I'll revert back to, so you say maintaining is definitely something I want to do. Okay, so if this is something that you desire to do, if that's what you want to do, then I'm going to make some suggestions. I'm going to suggest that you find some people. I would recommend LinkedIn. Find some people that you can follow, that you could maybe reach out to, that have extensive experience in that area, to learn, to figure out what it is that you actually need. So we're very familiar with the cloud engineer, cloud architect, network architect, security architect sphere. So we could speak ad nauseum about those and what to do, what not to do. It's not that we don't want to answer your question. It's just that we want to make sure you get the right answers.
Yes.
And the correct answers to help you get to your goal faster. So unfortunately, we don't have that experience to be able to share with you, to be able to give you those answers. So I would definitely recommend finding people on LinkedIn. And so what you're going to be looking for, you're going to be looking for people that have been able to keep positions for more than 2 years. Because if they've been in that position for more than 2 years, then have been in the same position, but maybe at different companies for a lengthy period of time, then presumably they've figured out how to do the job right. So find those people, follow them, connect with them, read their posts, watch, especially influencers, because if there's someone like Mike out there for sysops, then those will be the people that can tell you the things that actually need to be known to do that job. So that's I just wanted to chime in there so that we didn't try to give you bad information inadvertently, but just because of our lack of knowledge in that area. So thank you for the questions, though, Gonzo. I'm glad that you joined us today. Let's see. So while I'm looking through these next questions, I do want to let everybody know that Mike is not with us today. So we will be answering the questions that Alonzo and I are able to answer, and those will be the more the career and training and development questions. The less technical the questions, the more able I am to be able to answer them. So Mike will be joining us again later on in the week. So if you could give us your career and learning and training and development questions about the bigger picture, we are glad to answer those for you today. So our next one, what is your suggestion on how to start a career fresh in cloud with 6+ years of experience in a different domain, mechanical engineering background? P.S. I've already completed AWS Solution Architect certification, having not worked in a role anywhere near the cloud computing domain. So first of all, I need you to tell us what you want to do. So a career in cloud could be many things. Do you know what you want to do yet? Bharath Kumar. Do you know if you want to be an architect or if you want to be an engineer or what role you may want to be? That will determine the way that we answer this. But the key is, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? Whatever it is that you want to do is what you should prepare for.
Yeah.
You shouldn't prepare for what you think other people want or what other people say is the best thing. We're going to sit here and tell you that the architect role, when we're talking about cloud-specific roles, are going to earn the most money for the individual. But it needs to be a combination of what you desire to do, what you want to do, and the amount of pay that you desire. So, because at the end of the day, if you don't want to do what it is that you're actually doing, you're not going to do it well, and you won't be doing it very long. So, you can do whatever it is that you want to do. You just got to figure out what it is that you want to do, and then figure out the plan. You can do whatever you want. Anybody can do anything that they want to do. So I'll wait for that answer. And while we wait for that answer, let's move on. Min Win says, can you tell me some common goals that a new cloud architect member needs to meet to make the hiring manager happy in the first 3 months? Of course, I want to keep my manager always happy, but any recommendation to help me the onboarding process is less stressful is highly appreciated. All right, Alonzo, I'll let you tackle this one first if you want.
Okay, Min Nguyen, I think that the first thing you need to do is ask them what their goals are, align with their goals, provide and leverage, and say, okay, well, if this is what they're trying to increase market share, then talk about how you can help them increase market share. Always align your goals with the manager to find out how you can help build them up and ultimately your team. So it's not about your career so much as your career can be helped by focusing your your thoughts towards leveraging and improving the department itself. So I definitely also, what was helpful for me is there was this book that I thought about. It was called The First 90 Days. And it was a very insightful book about how to provide that value, learning to fail. If you're going to fail or fail in your job, fail early, fail big, and fail fast, so that you can ramp up very quickly, align yourself with the department, with the manager's goals, so that you can move forward, learn your job quickly, understand the culture, build your network, so that you can be helpful not only with your department but with any other departments that you work with as an organization. These are a lot of the things that have helped me become successful to where I am today. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I kind of like this question. So if I'm reading this correctly, this is after you've been hired, your first 3 months. So most companies call this like this time period the probationary period, especially here in the U.S. Because in most jurisdictions, you can be terminated in those first 90 days without any ramifications to the employer or whatever the case might be. So, and this is going to come from a non-tech answer, because I think the first 90 days for any employer is the expectations are going to be the same, no matter what company, what industry, and anything, where, when, why, who, whatever. I think the expectations are general. Pardon my French, but don't F up. What I mean is, don't do something obviously incorrect. Like, show up on time. Don't show up to meetings late. If somebody asks you to do something, do it. Just
with a smile.
Just do it with a smile. Now, if somebody asks you to do something that's not ethical, different story. But if somebody says, "Hey, can you do this?" Yes, I can do this. If somebody
that's how you build your network. Yeah.
If somebody invites you to something, yes, I'll be there. If there's the opportunity for additional work, yes, boom, I'll take it. If there's the opportunity to get in your employer's face, I don't mean like up in their mug, but if there's an opportunity to get in front of them and ask them and pick their brain and just poke it, fill your sponge, do it. But there's a lot of hiring managers, we actually expect very little in the first 90 days. And what we do expect is showing up on time, showing up appropriately. Don't say something that is offensive or upsetting or could be misconstrued. So don't say anything. That's just, so don't say anything. Listen, observe, take information. Now, in one-on-one situations, say things, but in a meeting, don't say anything. Don't try and shoot your shot or make yourself known or be a hot shot. Just in a meeting, listen, watch, observe. If you get called upon, then obviously say something. But use those first 90 days to learn. And then when you have those opportunities in one-on-one situations, then show what you've learned. Show that you've been listening. Show that you've been paying attention. I think that's the best answer. And again, I know it seems like it's funny, but when I say don't mess up, I'm being very serious. Like,
everyone's watching you.
Don't try to do something heroic in your first 90 days. Do not try to come in and solve the problem. It might not be a problem.
Yeah.
It might be a known issue that everybody is aware of, but you think it's a problem and you try to solve it. No, don't do that. Just you're there. You're there to learn the ropes and figure things out. Even if you're like Al, who just took a senior architect role, same expectations. They're not expecting him to come in there and solve all their problems in his first 30 days. They literally have him learning their way.
Yeah.
And that's a senior role. But any role, any first 90 days, like I'll use my wife as an example. She just actually today she just had her annual review, but she's only been there for 9 months. But it happened to be the annual review period.
Yeah.
But when she first started back in August, her first 90 days, she was learning. I mean, she's still learning to this day because it's a whole different industry for her. But they expect you to be learning, and just don't make mistakes by trying to do things that you're not familiar with.
Yeah.
And don't come in, try and be Spartacus and save everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true.
The word processor. Well, I need to learn Jenkins, Terraform as a solution architect. No.
Nope.
What area should I focus on?
Not those.
Yeah. Not those. So what I'm going to do, Tyrone, if you could put this link to our webinar, Mike can answer that much more eloquently than Alonzo and I could. So I'd like for the word processor and anyone else that would like to learn what you need to learn to become a cloud architect, sign up for our webinar so that you could learn what you need to learn to become an architect. The webinar, we will have one tonight at 7 p.m. and then we'll have one on Thursday at 1 p.m. And you can come, watch our presentation, and then ask us questions. Because we want to make sure we answer any of your questions. Again, Alonzo and I just can't do it near as much justice as Mike can. So we will invite you to that. AQC. How do you discuss salary without having any experience in the technology industry when there are no local public salaries to refer to? That's a good one.
Well, we definitely don't bring up salary during the discussion. I think from my perspective and my experience, when you showcase your competency, you are going through that strategy, what we call shut down the interview, and being able to impress them and blow their minds beyond their expectation and answering questions before they're even to ask them. Say, for instance, we're talking about block storage. You're able to talk about what it is, what it does, when you would use it, provide examples, and being able to drill into any specifics about that technology and how it's executable. From that strategy, you're going to be able to impress them and showcase your abilities across the board. If you're not able to answer any questions as eloquently as you would about anything that you're strong about, make sure you guide that conversation and that interview into places where you're strong at so that they're able to leverage your value from that and be able to present a very good salary with them. So if there's an opportunity, it all depends. It's a case-by-case basis. You might be able to negotiate for a higher salary, but overall, provide a platform to showcase your ability and your value so that they're able to know your worth and be able to present you with a offer that you really like and you would be willing to accept. What about you, Chris?
Just a second. Sorry. How do you discuss salary without any experience in the technology industry when there are no local public salaries to refer to? Do not talk about salary. If someone asks you about salary, you don't answer about salary. If someone asks you about salary, you can give a simple answer that you'd like to talk about that more once you've got a better understanding of what exactly the job entails. Boom, shut it down. So Alonzo went over the shut down the interview technique. There's a shut down the question technique. somebody asks you about salary, because they're, it's in their best interest to try and get you at the lowest salary possible. So they're going to try and ask you about salary when they've got you at the weakest point. They'll if they talk about salary, if they ask about your current salary and you're coming from an unrelated field, you can simply say, I don't think my current salary is representative of what we're discussing here, as it's an unrelated field at an unrelated position. And if they don't like that answer, you may not want to be working for them. Because if somebody's wanting to utilize the salary from an unrelated career in an unrelated field to try and get you at that salary, knowing that it's multiples lower than what the salary should be, then you may not want to. It may be in your best interest that they don't like that answer, if that's what their desire is. So, how do you talk about salary? Yeah, because you're inherently, from the hiring manager's perspective, you are in the position of weakness here because you're not bringing any experience to the table. From their perspective, that doesn't mean that you are in a position of weakness. It's just, all things being equal, if you come to the table without any experience, they're going to perceive you as being in a weaker position. So you'll want to deflect those to a time when you are in a stronger position, which will be after the interview. Salary should not be, this is me personally, I don't think salary has a place in the interview. Salary is a place after the interview. Maybe it's a part of another interview, but it's not a part of the first or the second one. I don't think.
And more than likely, you're not going to go through just one and done interviews when it comes to this position. Yeah. You're going to go through a few. You're going to go through the initial. You're going to go through the technical. You're going to probably go through the personality aspect, and it may require presentations of you being able to effectively design some architecture based on a case study. Anything is possible, but be prepared to show your best. And when you create that value as who you are as a candidate, then the natural progression of them wanting to offer their best is going to come your way. But the first things first is being able to know your worth, know your value, know what you bring to the table. And when negotiation comes into play, you're going to be prepared to do so.
All right. So we got several comments here. They look like one question, but they were sent separately. So I'm going to put them up one by one. It's from Swapnil. Says, I have 11 years of experience in tech support. Now I want to get a job in AWS cloud support. Now it's very difficult to get a job in AWS cloud support as a fresher. I have my AWS certified, got my solution architect associate certification. So I'm going to preface this one by saying that Alonzo and I aren't too familiar with support roles or sysops roles, sysadmin roles, but I'm going to go back to this one. Now it's difficult to get a job in AWS cloud support as a fresher. It's difficult to get any type of support role right now. These are the types of roles that are most likely to be the victim of arbitrage and offshoring. And if they aren't offshore, then they are extremely low pay for extremely high qualifications.
Yes.
So as a fresher in that role, yes, it is difficult to get a support role. So I'm trying to see if there's actually a question. These just all seem like statements, but you have 11 years of experience in technical support. I think without much direct knowledge about the support type roles, I would say that your best attempt will be to figure out how to relate that experience from non-cloud tech support to cloud support. And so what I'm saying, let me answer this in a way of someone that has not worked as a cloud architect, but has worked as a network architect. Our security engineer on-prem, our network architect on-prem. You know, that it's support is support, architecture is architecture. Doesn't matter if it's non-cloud support or not. At the end of the day, you are solving problems. You are providing remediation. You're gathering information about what the issue is. So without knowing your specific situation, I can't give too much of an answer except to go back to the beginning of these are difficult roles for someone new, only because of how easy it is for companies to find people to fill these positions at a lower cost throughout the world. Alonzo, anything to add to that?
Well, let's look. I think he broke it down into three different.
Yeah, let me go back in order here. So I have 11 years of experience in technical support. Now I wants to get a job in AWS cloud support.
Okay, very difficult job. Yeah, as a fresher, it's more technical. So I think from a technical perspective, they want to see, they're gauging your technical prowess and experience. But as Chris said, is that if you have 11 years of experience, leverage, and this is some of the universal stuff that we would say if we were focusing on a cloud architect job, is being able to position your experience and your skill set and tell that story about how you can leverage it for AWS support. If you have the certifications, ultimately it would be about you communicating your ability and your experience via your resume, as well as in that interview process. But when it comes to economies of scale, because there are, quite honestly, that market, from what I've observed, is pretty saturated. So you need to really bolster your competency according to what that job entails, and being able to learn those competencies from someone focused on that specific role. As we are focused more on being and transforming people out of certain roles into becoming cloud architects, we're not able to give you everything you're looking for. But from a universal and general observation, these are some of the steps that we would recommend.
All right. Let's see. So this is in response to a question earlier. I'll go back to the previous question. Aspiring to work on a product making a transition to cloud from legacy services, basically designing a cloud architecture for an existing product. So their original question was, what is your suggestion on how to start a career fresh in cloud with 6+ years of experience in a different domain? I've already completed. Okay, so they want to be an architect.
Okay.
Because I asked them what do they want to be,
Okay.
and because we couldn't answer the question. So, what is your suggestion on how to start a career fresh in cloud with 6+ years of experience in a different domain? P.S. I've already completed the AWS Solution Architect certification, having not worked in a role anywhere near cloud computing domain. You want to start that one, Alonzo, or I can?
Yes, Barath. Let's, and this is what we say to all of our viewers or prospective candidates or students. You're going to leverage that mechanical engineering background into how that experience is translatable to becoming a cloud architect. So if you've already completed a solutions architect associate certification, as a fellow person who's done it as well, that's not enough. We want to make sure you're competent across the board. And the reason why I'm saying this is because not everyone is interested in working in AWS. Not everyone sees that value in becoming a AWS consumer. So we want to make sure that you are cloud competent in understanding agnostic architecture, knowing the difference between, like I said before, block storage, object storage, and file storage, knowing that, say, for instance, object storage is S3, AWS S3s, their translation is going to be something different in Microsoft Azure. It's different name, but it's still going to be the same technology. So understanding the agnostic examples of what cloud architecture is, what it's comprised of, is critical. Understanding the difference between understanding networking is critical. Knowing the difference between interior BGP, exterior BGP, understanding that interior BGP is going to be far faster than exterior BGP, knowing the difference between LANs, WANs, understanding these concepts and a whole lot more is going to be necessary for you to be able to be a cloud architect, because again, it circles right back to it. Everyone puts a lot of emphasis on these name brands, but in reality, a lot of companies are focusing on at least 2 cloud service providers, because you want high availability, you want redundancy, you want to make sure your disaster recovery is in lockstep with what your needs are. You have to know about these concepts, and AWS does not provide that support, nor does it answer everything a company is looking for. So making sure that you know what cloud architecture is, all of its competencies, knowing those multifaceted layers of what's necessary to become competent is what you need. And AWS does not encompass everything for that. So I want you to know that, Barath, that don't worry about the name brand, because it only focuses on their response and their services that they offer to companies, but they don't talk about a lot of the necessary concepts for you to be a cloud architect. Like as I said, I do have that certification. They don't talk about BGP, Border Gateway Protocol. They don't talk about a lot of the necessary components. They only give you an AWS response to how they can provide services, not exactly or at to a level that you need to become a cloud architect. So please know the difference, and please, although we value certifications as something that you can add on to your competency, they are not the end all to be all to secure a position. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I think, so how do you start fresh in cloud if you want to become a cloud architect? So you need to know that the cloud is at its core is network and a data center. So, what we do in our training program is we make sure you understand the concepts of the network and the data center, because whether it's on the cloud or it's not, it's still the same concepts. It's still the same fundamentals. So you want to make sure that you know the fundamentals. You can learn more by joining our webinar tonight. We tell you exactly what you need to know to become a cloud architect, whether you do it with us or you do it on your own. We tell you what you need to know. We give you a whole list. We spend 15 minutes just on a list, literally just the list. 15 minutes we spend on it, and what you need to know. It's not something that we can give in a YouTube style answer. But you're also gonna need the things that aren't in tech training. The cloud architect role is a business role. It is an executive role. It is a sales role. It is a leadership role. It's a business role. You're going to have to understand business. You're going to have to understand communication. You're going to have to be able to read people. You're going to have to know when to talk and when not to talk, when to be quiet, when to listen, when to observe, when to write down things. You're going to need to know how to sell. You're going to have to know how to influence people. You're going to have to know how to write. You're going to have to know how to do all of these things. That's not in tech training, not in certification exams for sure. And these are the things that so many training programs are missing. Eventually they're going to catch up with us, but for there's no other place that you can get this type of training right now, unless you go to a college or you go to a university or you go to somewhere like a Global Knowledge, and these things are going to be tens of thousands of dollars. So those are the things that you need to know, you need to learn, you need to become familiar with to be successful as a cloud architect, especially if you're coming in with no experience.
Yes.
This is what's going to set you apart from the competition. Let's see. I got to go back down here because I had to go back up to reference his previous question. All right.
Yeah.
Just to follow up, I've recently made a job switch to a techno-functional support role for a product which is potentially be switched to GCP, AWS. Okay, so it sounds like you're wanting to do something specific to your current work.
Yeah.
You need to figure out what exactly. So this is not a career question. This is a right now what my work is doing question. We can't answer that question.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. There's no way to navigate with all those variables about a position that is not in trajectory with being a cloud architect. So that's hard to fill that request, Barath.
Yeah. So that, again, it's not that we don't want to answer your question. It's just that's a very specific question to a very specific role at a very specific company at a very specific time.
Yeah.
The best person to ask is probably the stakeholders. What do they need? If your goal is to satisfy their needs, you need to find out what their needs are.
Yeah, and that active word is product. So perhaps a discussion with the product owner, PMO, product manager, to give an understanding of what the goals are, how they need to be met. Look at your RAID, find out who's associated with the project, have discussions with them to better frame how to add value, Barath. So again, it goes right back. I have experience and a background in product managing, project management as well. And that's what it sounds like the path is going outside of that specific scope of what we can offer. But it's those type of questions and discussions you probably need to speak with the PMO and project owner and project manager about.
I'm not exactly sure what this question is asking.
Are there distinct roles between AWS DevOps and AWS cloud engineers to task communication, etc.? One thing that we can definitely say is that AWS DevOps is totally different than being a cloud engineer as opposed to being a cloud architect. DevOps focuses on that infinite process of implementation. Cloud engineering, they're the ones who build the architecture as opposed to cloud architects designing the architecture. The task of communication, there's the one thing that we can speak on is that there, as a cloud architect, it's part business, it's part architectural design. So communication is a strong proponent in becoming a cloud architect. But when it comes to DevOps, totally different. That's like saying that cloud architects are airline pilots and DevOps, they're submarine engineers. It's a totally different prospect. And a lot of people think that technology, it's all relatable. And to a degree, everything is related or focused on technology, but the implementation, the discussions, the job roles are going to be totally different from what cloud architects do versus cloud engineers and DevOps. So, Fong, let's just boil down to the discussion. We don't necessarily know what your goals are, but if you're able to better frame what your career goals are, and if they're relatable to becoming a cloud architect, we can help better answer your question.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw out a recommendation here as far as questions about DevOps and engineering and the like. I would recommend going on LinkedIn and YouTube. There's an individual named Sandeep Das.
Yes.
We've had him on our channel before. He's an amazing DevOps professional. So as far as DevOps go, that's an example of somebody that we would recommend utilizing like you would utilize us as it relates to cloud architecture. So again, that name is Sandeep Das. So that's my recommendation there. So we don't have any more questions. So if you've got any last questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box. While we're waiting on some questions to come in, I want to remind everybody that we've got our discount countdown through the end of this week, and only through the end of this week, we've got a 30% discount on our award-winning Cloud Architect Career Development Program. Tyrone has put that link in the chat box there just a minute ago. So you can get access to that. That is our award-winning program, regularly priced at $24.99. So for less than $2,000, you can get access to over 500 hours worth of on-demand content, our entire back catalog of lessons and training, access to 3 live classes a week for an entire year. So that's roughly 150 live classes of tech training, design training, soft skills training, networking training, projects, team projects, building solutions, all that fun stuff. You'll get access to our AWS content. You'll get access to our Azure content. You'll get access to our OpenStack content, where you can actually build your own cloud from scratch. You get access to our soft skills training, our mental focus and emotional intelligence training, interview training, so on and so forth. All of that is available. You can click that link. It's in the chat box and go to our program page and see what all is included there, and take advantage of that while it's available. Also, I want to remind everybody that we've also got our AWS Bootcamp that's coming up. Now, this was only for AWS. It's not gonna help you become a cloud architect. It's not gonna include any of the cloud architect training. It's not gonna include anything to actually do the job of the cloud architect, but it is for AWS, specifically geared towards the AWS Associate, Certified Solution Architect Associate. Sorry, so many words in these certifications.
Say it 3 times fast, Chris.
Yeah, specifically using the workflow of our exam guide that we produce for free. So that is there. That's free, and that's mainly just to help everybody just get familiar with this sphere of cloud computing. And we use AWS because as of right now, it's the largest name out there when it comes to getting people introduced to the sphere of cloud computing. So, and then of course we've got our webinar, the how to become the ultimate cloud architect, or how to get your first cloud job webinar. You can register for that. We'll have one this evening, and we'll have one on Thursday, of course. So you can register for that and join us so that you can learn exactly what you need to become a cloud architect. So those are all there for everybody to take advantage of. So I haven't seen any more questions come in. Alonzo, you want to share any last words?
Absolutely. I know I received a few phone calls from everyone. I believe I had at least 2 to 3. I will normally during this time, Mike, Chris, and I, we're usually focused on everyone here. So all of our customer service professionals are usually busy at this time, but I will make sure to get back with you as soon as possible. And also, if you'd like to speak with us, please go to our website and schedule a call. We'd love to speak with everyone, set up a time. We break them down into 20-minute increments. So please, if you have any additional questions after our webinar, please look on www.gocloudcareers.com, schedule a call, and we'd be more than happy to speak with you. But outside of that, we're always happy to respond to you. We're looking forward to any additional questions you may have. But if not, come back next time, and we're looking forward to speaking with you again.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. we hope that you have a great day and have a great rest of the week. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll have Mike with us later on in the week. So have a great day.
Take care, everyone, and enjoy your evening, morning, and afternoon.